do this, I want to read a little, or tell you a little comment about Clarence. Clarence picked her up when she got out of prison, and she went to stay with the family. This was after she had spent, 5.5 years in prison, and she went to stay at Sheriff Coffey's house for about 2 weeks before she went back to Oklahoma. Well, she had become friends with the family, and when Clarence picked her up at Union Station here, they took their little time getting back to Platte City, and when they got back, Clarence joked with his mother saying that they had stopped at the courthouse and got married. So, I thought y'all would get a kick out of it. She didn't mention that in her memoirs, but she did on an audio tape a little bit later, so I thought that was kind of cute. They both had a sense of humor. But this is what... I have trifocals, and I still have to take my glasses off to read, so you'll have to bear with me a minute here. Okay, this is an excerpt from Blanche Barrow's statement. On August 15th, Prosecutor David Clevenger of Platte County obtained a signed statement from Mrs. Blanche Barrow, widow of Buck Barrow. Witnesses by Agent A.E. McFarland of the Kansas City office, which is as follows. I, Blanche Barrow, do hereby make the following statement without fear, threats, coercion from any officer, and the same is made by me by my own free will and accord. I was married to Ivan Buck Barrow in America, Oklahoma on the 3rd day of July, 1931. I obtained the license myself for us in Idabel, Oklahoma. Our marriage occurred during the time my husband was an escaped convict from the state penitentiary in Huntsville, Texas. He was serving a term of 4 years for robbery. After a trip through Tennessee, Louisiana, Florida, finally up in the coast of North Carolina, we returned to Dallas, Texas. Buck was then returned to the state penitentiary until he was pardoned on the 23rd of March, 1933. I personally was instrumental in securing his pardon. After Buck's pardon, we stayed in Dallas several days and then went to Joplin to see Clyde Barrow. At Joplin, we found Clyde, Bonnie, and a man that I know as Jack Sherman camping on the outskirts of Joplin, Missouri, at a tourist camp. And after a few days, Bonnie and I went into Joplin and rented an apartment which was located over a private garage. It was here that I first saw that Browning automatic and the 45 Colts automatics, which were carried with us afterwards until they were taken from us by the Iowa officers of Dexter sometime in July. Today, I was shown 38 45 Colt automatics, 144 H&W, 4 Browning automatics, and a canvas bag kit, which were the guns that we had been carrying with us for about a month, and they were the ones that I had when we were at the filling station near Platte City, and later were taken from us when we approached by officers at or near Dexter, Iowa. When we traveled into Missouri, Kansas, and as far north as Iowa, I am not certain, but I think we stole at least one car while in Iowa, although I am not certain about this. But I will say that at all times when cars were taken, they were generally V8 Fords, sedans, and coaches. This is the type of car we used because they were so fast and quick to start. How long we stayed in Iowa, I do not know. After going to Iowa, we returned to Missouri, and about 10:30 o'clock on the night of the 18th of July this year, we passed a filling station on Highway 71, which I have later learned is about 7 miles east of Platte City. After passing this station, we decided to turn around and go back, and we had seen some cottages behind a filling station. We drove into the filling station. I don't remember, about 2 of them laid down, but I was in the front seat of the car and asked to rent the 2 cabins as there were two women and one man. We generally always used this method in renting cottages to keep down suspicion that there were 5 of us. While we were in the cabins near Platte City, I did all of the buying of the food at the filling station directly in front of these cabins, and I was in the filling station several times buying food on the day of the 19th of July. I will say that on several occasions before we came to Platte City and between that time, I visited his mother in Dallas, which I have therefore related. My husband attempted to get me to leave, but I stayed on my own accord because I did not want to leave. We were surprised by the officers on the 19th of July, and I'm not certain as to just what time it was, but I would judge to be someplace around 11:30 or 12 o'clock that night. My husband and I, during all that time, we were in these cabins near Platte City, and on that night we were in the east cabin by ourselves. When the officer came and asked to send the men out that there was in there with me, I told him to go to the other cabin. It seemed to me it was just like a minute or so that the first shots were fired. During the time of this shooting, my husband used a Browning automatic, and I believe that he had 3 clips that he used in the east cabin for the Browning automatic. There were also 2 .45 Colt automatics and clips for these 2 guns. After many shots were fired, someone, either Jack, Bonnie, or Clyde, yelled from the west cabin to get ready. We were going to have to leave, and it seems to me that I was the first out of the door, my husband following after me. I got to the car and heard a shot fire and saw Buck fall. I ran back and picked him up and carried him to the car. As we pulled out of this filling station, several more shots were fired, and the glass in the car on my side was broken and fell into my eyes, and I was blinded for 2 or 3 days. Because of the condition of my eyes, I could not see, and I do not know exactly where we went to except 2 or 3 days after we were in Platte City, and we were captured in a camp in Dexter, Iowa. Before we were captured in Dexter, Iowa, Buck tried again to get me to leave, but I would not do it. I signed this statement on the 15th of August 1933, after having thoroughly read the same, which consists of 6 typewritten pages. Signed, Blanche Barrow. Witnesses, A.E. Farland, Special Agent, U.S. Division of Investigation, Brock Miller, Western Missouri.